Welcome back to Blues Focus TV. Today I'm previewing from the away end with Dan from the Rovers Chat. How are you doing today, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for having us on. Looking forward to being back at football. This international break's gone on forever, so glad to be back. Looking forward to these final 9 or 10 games.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch any of the England games. I just watched the highlights of Jude Bellingham.
I didn't even know we were on, to be honest.
I just can't stand it. I can't stand anything about Southgate. I find it turgid football, and I'd much rather get back to our club football. Can you just say your social media handles for your channel, please?
Yeah, if anyone wants to find us, it's Rovers Chat on YouTube, Rovers Chat _ on Twitter. We've got about 8 different ones we had to change. Rovers _ chat on Instagram, Facebook. If you want to find us anywhere there, just search Rovers Chat and you'll find it.
Fantastic.
On every platform.
So first off, how do you think the game will play out?
It'll be an interesting one. I think Rovers will approach it maybe how people want to expect. I think we'll let you have the ball. We're best on the counter-attack, so I think we'll let you have the ball, especially at the start. You know, we won't rush into it. Yeah. Try and let you knock it round. It'll be an interesting one, given the fact we've played each other 3 times as well already this season. It's not often that happens, is it? So I think we'll just let you play with it, try and hit you on the counter-attack and go from there. It's our best asset, really, when we have to counter-attack. So we'll want you to play to our strengths. So hopefully we just let you have the ball, sit back.
I think we're the same. We're exactly the same. I think the games that we've won, we've had the least amount of possession. So
yeah, that's us summed up as well.
Who can do the best with the counter-attack they're trying to do? Last time out, we just said that, you beat us 2-1. But I would say it's probably our second best game of the season. We played some really good football. Your keeper was unbelievable that game. It was hard to take. I mean, I remember ringing the radio and saying, look, I've never been happy about a loss, but I was generally buoyed by the idea that we could do a bit. And obviously our squad is limited, so that's probably why it's tailed off a little bit for us and not for yourself. So your recent form has been pretty good, really. I mean, you beat Leicester in the FA Cup, you beat QPR, you beat Sheffield United. Granted, you lose to them in the FA Cup, but I think for you, it's probably better off that you did lose that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it was disappointing at the time, but then when we saw them draw against City as well in the semi-final, and you saw what Haaland did to Burnley, you were, without doubt the best in the league. So when you see him do that to them, you sit there thinking, how many will Haaland score against us? So, you want to get to Wembley, of course you do, but I'm glad we're out now, and I think settling on these final 9 games, playing them when we should as well, it'd have been another game moved. I don't even think we got a free weekend, a free midweek, sorry. So when we'd have played that, I won't know. So yeah, definitely better for us. It's hard to take at the time, but you've got to do what's best for the club, and Rovers ultimately everything focused on this playoff push now. So yeah, heartbreaking, but definitely worth it for the club.
It's one of them, though, isn't it? It's all well and good going to Wembley, but you want to go to Wembley with the idea that you think you can win. You look at the Watford fans that went to the FA Cup and got banged 6 by City. No one wants that. You want to do a Wigan, you want to do what Blues did in the League Cup, what Swansea did in the League Cup. You want to go there with the idea that you can actually win. And to be fair, out of both clubs, yes, Sheffield United are going to be happy, but you're going to be more happier because the league is now all your focus. You've made a bit of money in the cup, and they can fully focus on that. And out of both of you, it's probably better it is Sheffield United. So you kind of want them to dip a little bit in the league, and hopefully, you never know. Especially with the Championship,
anything can happen. We're not written off anything yet. We could finish 12th. We could finish, further up, further second even. So it'd be an interesting one, especially with, you mentioned Sheffield United. That cup will take a lot out of them, I think.
Yeah.
With all the effort. I know you're going to get beat, but you've still got to put that effort in to not make it double figures. Look at Burnley. Burnley were knackered after 40 minutes. And for me, I thought they played well. But don't let me admit that.
It wouldn't shock me if they were up next season and got Europa League conference. It wouldn't shock me because with the money that they'll get and company there, if he can stay, it wouldn't shock me if they did, easily what Fulham are doing and nick it into the lower levels of Europe because he's got them playing such a good brand of football. And then when City can do that to them, you kind of want to
It's worrying, isn't it?
kind of leave it alone. Yeah. What are your thoughts on your manager so far?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with John Dahl. I think it took him time to get used to English football. It's a very left field appointment for Rovers. We've
Yeah.
been pretty much appointing the classic managers, either your Tony Mowbrays, who obviously had done jobs at Coventry and Middlesbrough before, but always had that history tailing off, at Paul Lambert, who maybe had a bit of a damaged reputation at the time. And it were a nice change. It was nice to see Rovers go for the forward-thinking option, not go for a Neil Warnock or a Tony Pulis. You know, it showed a bit of ambition. Same with your appointment. I like that you went for a young manager. I like that you went for someone that, you know, that you actually can build something with. And that's what we've seen. And I know we're up there in the playoffs, and I don't want to speak about losing, but it feels like we've got something planned, whether that's this year or not. It feels like there's a plan in place, like there's something that if we don't go up this year, we come back in the summer, we say, let's add 4 players to the squad and make it 4 much better players than we have now. Let's build it. Let's be a side that teams are scared of playing. And he's done that to some extent. I think you mentioned the form. 2023 has been an incredible year so far. I think we've lost to Stoke and we lost to Rotherham, which are 2 out the games we've had, probably 2 you wouldn't expect us to lose. So
Definitely not.
We've got that inconsistency that you see in the Championship, but for me, since 2023 started, we've gone from being a side that's picking up results to a side that's picking up results and putting performances in. And we're probably doing it at the right time. It's just whether will this international break just have halted us a bit? I don't know. He's very insistent on fitness, is Thomas, and he's a very fitness king, man. They play however many games a week. If you don't play for the first team, you play for the 21s. So they're always playing, and he should have kept that up in internationals, and hopefully that should see us benefit. I think last time we come out an international break, we got beat 4-1 off Preston. So there's hopes that doesn't repeat, but we're a different side now. So back to the original question before I went off on a tangent. Thomason's brilliant. He's done us a really good job. For me, I think he's got a big future in this game as well, and I can't see it being with Rovers, unfortunately. But if he can go and get us playoffs this year and then maybe push on next year and then move on, then it is what it is. I've been impressed by him. Like I say, it's nice to not go to the old merry-go-round.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm of the mindset now as a fan of a non-massive club. As long as the manager that comes in leaves you in a better position when they pick you up, then you're right. Nothing stays forever. I mean, bringing it back to Blues, soon as Bellingham stood on that pitch, we knew he was going to go. We just hoped we could keep him as long as possible to enjoy him, So I think managers are the same now. You can't always expect to have, the informed manager forever, because everyone's name holds weight for a certain amount of time. And some clubs, especially like both of us, have a price. Everyone has a price. And I feel like Blues are probably 18 months behind where you are. And if we can replicate what you've done, because you've had ownership problems like we have, it gives you a little bit of confidence. But when you pick up someone like, Diaz, Ben.
Nowhere near Diaz.
I mean, I heard rumours that he was actually at the training ground for Blues on the verge of a medical, and then for some reason, whatever happened, we pulled, and then you come in, and the rest is history. So I think with your playing style, I think it fits your manager perfectly. I've looked at his stats, and his stats are really good. Like, it's 52% win rate. That's not heard of very often. 24 wins, 6 draws, and 16 losses. It's always been a thing for me as a fan. If you can see more wins than losses, you're doing well. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. And
especially this
moves me on to my next question. Who are your 3 players to watch for someone that's never watched Blackburn? Who's the 3 players you'll pick out?
It's a good question. I think your first one goes with Sammy Smodics. Attacking midfielders really filled the hole of Bradley Dax.
He's definitely a hipster choice. I remember signing him years ago on Football Manager.
Everyone got him. I used to have him last year.
Hipster's choices. It seems like he's one of them players, though, that hasn't ever done it until he's got to you. He's starting to build himself. I think Blues, again, when we had like Ravel Morrison, when we had Lingard, you bring them players and they just spark into life in your environment, and then you go from there. But yeah, I've always clocked him, and he always looked a good player. but never really did it. But I think this season, everybody else is starting to say, actually, this kid's got a bit.
I think what works for him as well is he's a very pressing attacking mid, and that is Thomas and summed up. I don't get me wrong, I think Bradley Dack's a miles better footballer technically.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to Smadic as well, because Dack's levels above. But he doesn't have that fitness, whereas Smadic has got the fitness and still got the ability. And in this side, when he's allowed to go and press and get where he wants, it's seen him really benefit. He's been really good since Dack went, and he come into the season, like you mentioned, on that verge of is he on that gap of too good for League One but can't do it in the Championship, and he'll just keep being a League One promotion winner. And that were a lot of the talk in the fan base as well. But he hit the ground running, had a spell out when Dack come back, and he's been back in ever since. And for me, he's been the player of 2023. He's been incredible. Lewis Travis in the midfield as well. Tough tackler. He's kind of an old classic midfielder. He'll kick you. He'll punch you. Well, maybe not punch. He's calmed down a little bit since he become captain, but he'll just put that last, but he'll leave the footing on a tackle, let himself known. And do you know what? He's come on a lot as a player. I think he's not just that anymore. And I'm probably doing him a discredit by actually saying he's just a tackler, because that is his strongest attribute. But he's good at getting us forward. He's good at knocking the ball around the park. He's got a lot of attributes that maybe go under the radar, because he is that kick him, lump him, do whatever he can midfielder. And for me, he deserves a lot more credit. I don't think he'll ever get picked up as oh, wow, he's one of the best in the Championship, because people will always hark back to the fact that he's just in their way, just a shit house, really. And that's unfortunately, well, that's good for us, but maybe unfortunately.
You need a shit house in the Championship, and you need a shit house now in the Prem. I mean, look at United. United have only improved because of Casemiro. He's the biggest shit house you can probably get, but he's got a little bit extra to try and get him out of that, cuckle him into that bracket of what Roy Keane was, what Nicky Butt was. So it makes sense. I think you can't have teams now that are full of
No, you can't have 11 good players, like 11 quality players. You can't. And that's what, that's maybe where we didn't recognise it, because we had Richie Smallwood for us when we went down to League One, and Richie Smallwood was such a key player in getting us up, but that wasn't because of his ability and his footballing wise. It was because he'd leave every tackle in, he'd fight, he'd do whatever, he'd leave everything on the pitch, and that ultimately got us up. So I think we're starting to appreciate Travis a bit more than we did. I'd say the third one, former Coventry man, Dom Hyam at centre back. He's been incredible, absolutely incredible there. Joined, I think we got him really at a cut price because of Coventry's issues with the stadium and the pitch and everything they've had this year. So we went in there, nabbed him quickly, and for me, he probably wins Player of the Year. Tough tackling, the head in the way whenever he wants to. Good at playing the ball out from the back as well, which we tried to implement. We've kind of gone away from that, but we'll still try it. He's just been really good, really influential. So, Hyam, Travis, Smadic, and that's the spine of the team, really. And I think it sums up why we've done so well this year. There's a lot I haven't mentioned as well. The fact I haven't mentioned Brereton Diaz in the argument says a lot about what the rest of the team is. Tyrese Dolan, one to watch. Sam Gallagher, obviously you'll know him well.
Yeah.
He goes under the radar a lot. He's had a year where, although he's a striker, he's not a goal scorer. He's more the stuff off the ball. And although other fans will look at it and think, well, he's only got 8 goals, why has he had a good year? But then they don't see a lot of what he's done off the ball. So Gallagher's up there as well. And I think he scored against you at our place and enjoyed it a bit. And I'm pretty sure he'd love a goal at St Andrews.
Don't blame him. He played under a manager that he's probably the worst in our history. And for some reason, he believed he's left winger, which, I mean...
Well, he is ours at some time. He is ours sometimes. That's what happened to him here. He played on left. And don't get me wrong, it worked at times, but when you're that big, just let him go up top and run around.
I remember years ago when I was a kid seeing Houllier do it with Heskey. It worked for a couple of times, but it's not something you keep with. It's
a one-off, isn't it?
Off the cuff, and then that's it. Like a bit like Stuart Pearce putting David James up top. You don't do it every week. You do it now and again. The reason why I asked that question, and it's a good one, because when I looked on SofaScore, it was Ayala, Hyam, and Pearce, your keeper, are your 3 rated, but stats don't say it all, do they? It's all about the fan opinion, and you're talking about things that can't be quantified. I remember Gallagher doing bits that could, win a free kick. Winning a free kick for teams that can't dominate is like gold dust at times, you know. I'll be honest, I've been at games for Blues throughout the years I've supported, and we've celebrated tackles louder than
The
some
goals.
people have
Yeah.
goals,
Well,
corners,
if you put a
throws a
good
lot.
tackle in,
And I think when you are a lower base team, you have to find the joy in you know, the mundane. You know, I don't think you'd ever see a United fan clap a tackle, but I feel like both of our clubs would do that, and that's what I think gives you a bit of joy of football, doesn't it? Really?
yeah, and I think you mentioned that as well. I think you find it with and Millwall are a good example that
Yeah.
they're not really a top 6 club, are they, in terms of quality,
No.
but they've just got that nastiness and that way of playing, and that's what we've kind of brought in this year. You don't want to play Rovers anymore, and that's been something that has lacked in recent years. We go to
Yeah.
places now and all the fans are like, oh, I don't want to play Rovers. And before it's been like, oh, we'll play them. We usually nick something off them. They usually lose the odd game. But just when you mention Ayala, then Ayala's an interesting one. He's been in and out the side. He's been up and down in terms of performances, really. He's probably off in the summer. I'd be shocked if he plays for the club again, I'll be honest, unless it's a substitute appearance. Because he's been out for a bit of time, and Hayden Carter's coming at centre-back, really impressed. Pears as well. Obviously, Kaminsky, we spoke about him earlier in the reverse fixture. He's back fit now, and the debate goes, do you keep your keeper who's been really good all season, but made some mistakes in? Or do you keep your keeper who's been good for the last 10, 12 games? And don't get me wrong, Pears has gone from being... He was down at Portsmouth 4 days before deadline day, about to sign for them. We pulled him back up here. He's played ever since the replay, actually, at your place, and he's not looked back. So that'll be an interesting one. Pears versus Kaminsky. Obviously, like I say, Kaminsky, good game against you, but for me, Pears has to stay. And he's one, I never put a keeper in players to watch because I feel like it's a bit of a downside if they go and concede 4, but Pears has definitely been probably second in the player of the year since the new year. Probably putting behind Smodics and maybe Smodics and Hyam. He's been incredible, and that rating's deserved for him. He's had a really good year.
What are your aims for the season, realistically?
It's got to be top 6 now. I think we've had a history of falling off in February, and that'd be, we'd sit there in February thinking, do you know what, we might get playoffs, and we haven't got them, and then the last 8 games become a dead rubber like the one at your place last year. But now we're 9 games away and we're in the playoffs by 4 points, and you sit there thinking, no matter what your expectations are at the start of the season, it's going to hurt if you don't get in that top 6 now. It's going to be a bad season.
And I think your squad is better than Luton, Millwall, Coventry, and Baggies. Norwich, no, they're ex-Prem, so obviously they need to be better, but they've had their own issues. But yeah, I would say that your squad is better than most around you, but you've got the biggest worry you've got is Watford. If Watford get going, their squad is, up there with Burnley's and Norwich's and Baggies. I think there's too much infighting within the Baggies squad, and just the rubbish around the ground, like a bit like Blues with their ownership. So I think they're probably going to fall away. But yeah, looking at it, but your goal difference does stand out.
It's a point, really, isn't it? That's worrying us. That's our worry. It's basically a point knocked off us, isn't it? It'll be interesting. I think Rovers we're at that position now. The last 3 games are Burnley, Luton, and Millwall, I believe, are the last 3. Which you sit there and you think, if you pick up 10 points by then, you've just got to beat one of them. You beat Luton and Millwall, and I think you're in the playoffs. And it probably suits Rovers. I think, like I say, we're better on the counter attack, and Luton will probably come and try and play us at a game. So it'll be an interesting one. I think we'll make it. I personally think we've just got that bit this year. Whether we make it in the playoffs and go and win it, I don't know. That's a complete lottery, isn't it? We've not had that experience, which does worry me a bit. But if we got top 6, I don't think anyone could complain at all about the season. I think I have my Rovers 15th, 14th this year in that transition period that everyone I hate that word transition, but
I know, it's horrible.
It is used so often.
It's an excuse to not try and compete, isn't it? It's an excuse put on by clubs to go, we're not going to spend, basically, or we can't spend.
That's what we've been like. We've been like, you've heard, like we did win-loss for probably 12, 14 games, and every time we lose it, we're projects, and You know, that's not a dig at the manager. It is a project, but it's hard to hear when you're up and down and you that frustrating. That Birmingham game at home could have easily been a loss, and you look at them other games like that we've won, and you think, you know what, you go and win them. You don't care. There's no column on the table that's about performances. It's about points, but it was frustrating at the time. And if we look back end of the year and we've got in the top 6 and we sat there and we go and lose to Middlesbrough, lose whatever, it'll hurt, don't get me wrong. And you'll probably hear a few silly comments coming out about the club and the manager and the team. But it's been a cracking year and it sets you up for next year. Players look at a top 6 side and they want to go and sign for them. They want the best chance of getting out of the league. If a free agent comes up and you finish top 6 the year before, you have a good chance of getting them, haven't you? So it's a lot for us into next year. Whether we make it or not, it'll be interesting. I don't think my nerves will handle a playoff, so I'll tell you that.
You just want to be in the argument, don't you?
You want to be there. You want things to say,
there,
Rovers are good. Rovers are a side we're scared of playing, like I mentioned before. I remember we'd go to Rotherham before, we'd go to grounds you'd expect to win, and you'd speak to fans and they'd be like, I think we can beat you. Whereas you'd see Norwich go in there and they'd be like, oh, Norwich are coming, Watford are coming. And we want to be that category of club. And whether that's this year, I don't know. But certainly next year, if we don't make it into the Premier League this year, I think next year teams will look at us and, you know, they'll see a point against us as a good result. And hopefully they'll fear us a bit more because we've not had that for as long as I can remember.
Right, I'm going to ask you now for a score prediction.
I'd never back us to lose. I don't think we'll lose personally. I think we'll win 2-1. We like a nasty win. It's not going to be pretty. I just think we'll get that 2-1, get over the line. If you went and beat us 4-0, it wouldn't shock me. And that's Rovers summed up this year. Well, I imagine it would be you. I imagine it'd shock a lot of home fans. But we're just one of them teams that we could turn up and we could blow you away 4-5-0. And we can not turn up and lose 4 or 5-0. And I genuinely sit there in that away end and think, don't shock me, whichever way it falls. We're such an unpredictable team. I'll go 2-1, but if it's anything like that last game, the nerves aren't going to hold out because I was convinced you'd go and get something out of that game. Kaminski obviously had an unreal game, and I hope Pears does here.
Well, to be fair, if I had to put a score on it, I think 1-1, best case scenario for us, because I just don't see us breaking a team down like you that does what we do but better. So yeah, it's an awkward one, but I think I'm just happy that the football's back, but I kind of want to get back into it a little bit as well. I don't know where we're going to sit. I don't know what the injuries are at the moment. They normally come out on a Thursday, so we should hopefully hear something. And yeah, we've had a little bit of talk about our ownership over the international breaks. That always depresses you because it's like, well,
it's hard, isn't it? It's you want to focus on football, don't you?
Yeah, and I want some hope as well. That's my biggest thing. I want to enjoy a game and not think about everything else around it. So yeah, if we could play the same as we did at your place, I'd be over the moon. And even if that turned into a draw or a loss, I'd still be happy because it still shows growth, doesn't it, at the end of the day?
Well, I've always said as well, sorry, just to jump in with ownership, that you sit there and, like you say, you just want to go to a game. And if you're a bad side, you're a bad side. But if you're a bad side and ownership issues are boiling and building up with everyone, you know, like you say, we've had our issues. You certainly had yours. You only looked to the last game of last year when that pitch invasion happened at the end. And you just want to focus on the football for once. I hope it all gets sorted for your sake. We touch wood look like we're in the best position now we have been. But
we really need it. It's been
you just want that year, don't you? And if you get that year, and even if you got a year of good ownership and you finish 18th or 19th again, you've had a good year with ownership, and it means a lot more to you than anything can.
Do you know what the biggest thing is? I just want to see the owner celebrate a goal. That's what I want. It's really, really low level because our owner, there's no pictures of him. You can't get a picture of our owner. So that's a podcast in itself. If I go on to that, I'll be here tomorrow. So yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. I do appreciate. Good luck in the game. Are you going down to the game?
Yeah, we'll be there. Second trip there this year after the that cup replay.
So good luck. you know, you're in the part of the ground that is actually still together. So, you know, good for you. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Remember, everyone, to like, share, and follow. Consume this on all your, you know, chosen podcast places. And I've been Josh, and thanks for joining. I'll see you later. Keep rolling.